SaaStock is the preeminent global community of SaaS founders. Thousands of companies are involved with this organization, and I had to join. I've enjoyed it for many, many years, going to the conferences and other venues, and I'm glad they've built an online community.
Welcome to the SaaS Revolution Show, Maria Wlosinka, CEO and co-founder of Unlock. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you, Alex. Really excited to finally be here.
Yeah, great to have you on the podcast. We were having a little joke beforehand that we've been trying to get this podcast done for the last couple of months, and it's either been myself or yourself for whatever reason. We've not managed to do it, but today we're here. It's happening.
Exactly.
I'm excited for it because obviously I've spoken to you before and heard your story, and I thought this would be perfect for the SaaS Revolution Show for our audience. And so I want to kind of almost like repeat that conversation, which was mostly you talking, but telling a fantastic story, and getting into it. So I guess I'm building it up here, but sort of before we get into the story, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Who is Maria Wlosinka?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm a very curious and adventurous person. I'm born and raised in Sweden, but my parents are Polish. I also always, had very much a strong sort of, excitement around connecting with people as a natural sort of relationship builder. I think I always felt that probably in my life, I should go into the career path of sales somehow. So after I graduated my master's in international business school in Copenhagen, that became kind of the path that I took, and started to work in a few different tech companies, always in sales, business development roles, helping to scale in different markets. Going back to the adventurous side, always tried in different cities, so lived in quite a few different cities, most recently in Stockholm, New York, and Amsterdam. And then, at the side to all my work, which always also was a lot with regards to sort of engagement technology somehow, I also, love this sense of connecting people, even, in other formats. And hence I supported quite a few event organizations, and that's how I got connected to a lot of incredible founders. And they inspired me to one day, maybe dare to start my own company. And finally, summer 2019, I felt I had come to that period in life where you take the jump yourself into what is the start of this entire journey. And I moved to London, and fast forward to today, I'm now the co-founder, as you said, of Unlock, and we are helping remote teams all over the world to sort of connect and create better cohesion through our SaaS-enabled marketplace.
Great, thanks for that. And we'll get into really dive into the founding story shortly. But first of all, like, why particularly that problem? Like, why did you found Unlock and decide to solve this problem?
Yeah, I think it goes back to this kind of like, red thread that I had in my life, which was all about connections, experiences, engagement, events. And I knew that if I one day were to start a company, it probably would be in the area of enabling better connections. And I think it's important to go for an area which you feel very excited about, which you kind of really understand the deeper problems as well, in order to create something truly unique in that space as well. So, basically it's 2019 where we set out to start a company, and had met my two co-founders, Darshak and Ellie. We immediately knew we need to kind of work on this problem of, how can like companies and employees create better connections? And we actually started from a perspective that was a little bit different to what it is today. So essentially it was first about creating better connections with future hires to reduce the time and cost to hire. And that, sort of we created the first version for that. And essentially that was 4 months before the whole pandemic kicked off. And with the incredible, market changes and everything that happened, I think we kind of reassessed a little bit where we were going with that product. And as we were speaking with so many people leaders and employee experience leaders, everyone was somehow asking us, is there any way where we can use Unlock, since it's all about enabling better connections, internally instead? And we really struggled to create that sense of belonging, the sense of team cohesion, and build culture remotely. And Unlock had something in it, which we felt could really enable that to a better extent. So that became kind of the path. And then we dig a little bit deeper into this problem of why it's not really working well today. How are the solutions? What's the current availability of products that are helping for it, and why is it still such a struggle? And I think there we discovered different things, such as, for instance, knowing that we didn't want to take an approach of let's build an office online for distributed teams and copy what works physically into a digital world, but really rethink of how we bond and how we create those connections. And then essentially we felt, it needs to consist of two things. It needs to have this venue a place you to go to for the mindset of, when you're doing something which is about culture building, maybe about the non-work moments, you need to have a special and dedicated space for it. And the second component was all about, it also needs to have a lot of variability, and everyone gets bored of doing the same thing every time. So that's how kind of the whole concept of what if it also could have a marketplace and offer, and we could partner with incredible virtual creators that are experts in, virtual engagement, and sort of combine these two to create much more of this all-in-one platform, essentially, that helps companies and remote teams in that way. And then that's how it's started, really, during very specific, very challenging months, but something great came out of it as well.
Amazing. And as you said earlier, you dared to be an entrepreneur, and you had that desire, some entrepreneurial ideas, and you deliberately then went to Antler to then find your co-founders. Can you tell us a little bit about this experience and why you chose that path, and I guess what the end result was?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2009, where I felt, I was ready to start a company, it was all about, I knew that I didn't want to do this journey. It's a very hard journey, that everyone knows that. And I really needed the right co-founders to do so. And in my immediate network, I didn't have sort of the right people, essentially, that also had the complementary skills, but more very similar skills to myself. And I heard about this concept of Antler. I was actually in Singapore. They were where I came across them for the first time, and got really attracted to the fact that they somehow, was this venture builder who had kind of an infrastructure in place that reduces the barriers, I would say, of starting a company. So it has, the foundation, it has the connection, and it really is that kind of stepping stone to enable, I think, a lot of founders or potential founders that maybe, it is hard and need a little bit of extra push or help from some perspective. And for me, it was all about finding the other co-founder, really, that was the most attractive in their proposition. So I met the partners in London and got selected into their first cohort. And I think, in the end, when it comes to these programs similar to Antler, and if it's all about, do you it's a little bit of luck whether you actually also meet the right co-founders and someone that you truly click with. And in my case, I was really lucky to meet Darshak and Ellie, who I immediately had this very special bond with. I think it somehow just, from a value perspective, from personality, from, we also complemented each other. Darshak is the technical co-founder, and Ellie came from a more operational background as well. So I think we all just felt that, there is something truly special with our little group, and we could handle and tackle all of the early, the areas that are needed at the start. And most importantly, we were all equally excited about the prospect of working on platforms and, the problems of how do we sort of connect better. And that's how it started. And, Antler works in a way where you basically have 2 months. You go through this kind of period, which is a little bit of the founder matching, and it's all about finding the right team and idea. And then after 2 months, you pitch to an investment committee, and then they select essentially a few companies after that will go through a few months until there is, a formal demo day. Or at least back then it was a in-person big demo day. So we were lucky. We passed that first investment, essentially. So Antler became our first investors as well. And then we started to build, the first version of that product at that time. And I think, we definitely didn't know what was about to come in 2020, a few months later. And we were also lucky because, we had a demo day in January last year. And In February, basically, we raised a little bit of a smaller additional round. And I would say, again, sometimes in life, somehow timings work out. And for us, it certainly did, because that helped us to then, go through as well the pandemic in the way that we have done as such. But yeah, that's how it started. And yeah, where the whole journey really took off.
So in terms of that, so after finishing Antler and building that first version of the product, tell us a little bit about that, how long that took, what steps you took, maybe some details around that.
Yeah, I think, very much when it comes to conceptualizing idea, I think we have been very much trying to, relatively quickly put something together and put them in people's hands, or at least show them. So I think nowadays there's so many different tools where, if you have an idea in mind, and in my case, Darshak, one of our co-founders, one of the co-founders, is just great at quickly mocking up, things in Figma and making them look great. And I think those were the things that we tried at the start to get a little bit about validation of the concept, and really trying to, understand, what else we can build here, what is missing, and really both doing, a lot of quantitative sort of surveys, a lot of qualitative interviews with leaders. But I think it's super key to be very kind of, just be out there as quick as you can with users and iterating directly with them. And that's also what we did, because essentially after, the pandemic and started, for us, that meant that, I would say March was a total blur. It was a very stressful month. Everyone, were really scared in that sense. And we also took a little bit of step back then and tried to, because I think we had been through this rush in Antler where you just have to, get to the next stage and you have to have demo day. And when in March, we could somehow reassess a little bit what we were doing and also align it better to our kind of natural excitement in areas of interest, which I think are so important for kind of, again, this like entrepreneurial as the ideas and how much energy you're spending on it. It's so important that it really is something that you're naturally very excited and curious about, and even on weekends want to learn more about, because it's just, is in that space. And I think, we then shifted a little bit to that, and again went through, another prototyping version of, I even remember actually, like, write it on paper. I think I have it somewhere, like the version that we kind of just, this would be a cool thing if we could change it into this version. And you would have these rooms and you would have all of these things in the platform. And actually, three weeks after Darshak wrote the first code, we hosted our kind of test session as well. So we tried to be really quick again in like getting users there. And that was actually the moment when we hosted that session with users on a really scrappy still first version, when we noticed, okay, there is something real here, because there was so much delightness, and people were really enjoying, and there were so many laughs. And I think, yes, you kind of feel it a little bit, when people go away from your product. First of all, the time to value on this second iteration was so much shorter, and secondly, it just delighted customers in a completely different way, essentially. So yeah, I think coming back, don't remember exactly the question, but essentially all about getting out to users as fast as possible, iterating with them.
No, great. So, and in terms of that, so from that first version, or the first idea, to what Unlock is now, and I guess learning that from customers and iterating to get to this kind of version. What was the time period from when you realized, okay, first of all, we built this first version, but now we've got what Unlock is today? So how long did it take to kind of pivot and iterate to get to the product that it is today?
Yeah. So, I would say that in March and April, we kind of ideated and started to change the idea. And then we started to code the new version like beginning of May. And then essentially in June last year, we had this first testing session that I told you about. And then after, I think in end of July, we released a little bit of an improved version. And that's when we started to essentially we created a new website or kind of landing page. We realized that it was also a lot more easier to get user excited, even though it was early product. So we kind of also then selected 30 companies that we basically worked very closely with during the fall to kind of iterate on the concept, and learning a lot from that, and what's working, what do we still need to improve. And then the entire fall was spent kind of Yeah, just conceptualizing, ensuring that you really are working on the things that deliver more value, and yeah, iterating on several aspects to ensure this kind of the variability. I think that was the key, and ensure how it flows with existing kind of working systems, and building out the Slack integration and all of those things. And it was really on the back of kind of interacting with customers a lot more that I also felt, really comfortable and ready to go out and raise like the next round essentially as well.
Which is a neat segue into the next question. So you have raised some money, and I think you'll be shortly announcing that publicly as well. Tell us a little bit about that fundraising experience. I mean, why did you want to raise money, and also what did the journey look like, and why the investors that that you chose to kind of take on board? So yeah, keen to learn about that.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I kind of set out on the path. I think already if you decide to go into a venture builder like Antler, I think, you're already setting up yourself for a path which is about building much more of sort of highly scalable companies that, has the potential of being venture backed. And yeah, it is a very different already kind of world versus, building a lifestyle business or anything else in that sense. And for me, we kind of knew that in one way. And we're also, had very high ambitions of what we wanted to do with Unlock. And I think during the fall, essentially, it just came to a point where we also really felt confident in the product of like, actually, you know what, if we have a little bit more money here to hire some more people and help on building out the platform, we have a sense that this really kind of will work. And we already see, so many indication through the traction, through the early metrics that, yeah, users are really enjoying, and we got into incredible companies so fast, and there was really something here. So I think, it was that kind of internal conviction that we saw from customers, as well as kind of the fact that, it also is necessary for building out the platform that we wanted to do in that sense. And then kicked off. And I think since I did a little bit smaller round in the February, I also had a little bit of lessons learned, I would say, from that fundraising experience until the second one. So I said the second one that we did, raising the seed round of 2 million, I think that was, first of all, we structured the process really well. I think, the classical thing of, preparing everything, your data room, your spreadsheets with all the investors of who you want to target, identifying who could be relevant based on, their investment thesis of stages and all of that. And, finding introductions, and to all of them, we definitely only went through kind of warm introductions as well. So I really kind of set myself into this mindset of, now I have these weeks, I need to do it. And it does help a lot to structure it that way. And then, once you kick off, it's kind of really important that you also, kind of in the mindset of there will be a lot of rejections also, and you need to surround yourself with, people that, despite getting no's and all of it, they kind of help you to, go into the next meeting again and do it again, essentially. And for us, that it eventually became very clear once we talked to quite a few VCs, which one we just had this natural click with and connection. And I do think those are the things you kind of, can't really, there's so many kind of tips of, how to increases your chances of getting funding. But I do still feel, if I look back on our fundraise now and kind of think about all the meetings I had, I really could tell after the first meeting if there was a potential to actually, for the deal to really happen. I think you really feel it. Like, ultimately, they need to be, you're going to work a lot with these people. You need to have some kind of, similar, again, values, similar way of, viewing the world. And I think, when I met La Familia, which became essentially my lead investor, that really kind of was this ultimate kind of click, where I felt from the moment of the first introduction. I had actually read an article that Judith, the lead partner, had written just a few months before regarding what was missing in this remote workspace. And it was very much what we were kind of actually building. And so I think it also resonated really a lot with kind of what she was looking for. It also, I had a strong introduction into La Familia through an incredible portfolio founder that is a good friend of mine. And I think that is also, another thing that I would say always helps. And then essentially from that moment, I just knew, and, everything from how fast it went to go to from, the Zoom call to WhatsApp, and then that just progressed really well. But I kind of, again, sensed it in the first call with them that there was something special here. And it just proved to be right for us in that sense.
What about, getting initial traction, finding those first customers? What has been the tactics, the strategy to do that and acquire those first customers?
Yeah, very much. Again, going through your own networks and founder-led sales. I think it can't be overstated how important it is to be close to your customers as a founder. And we very much, still, honestly, like it's the favorite thing to do. Also during a fundraise, I had a bit of tactic of whenever I got a rejection, I texted a customer. I have quite a few on WhatsApp, and honestly, they always brought me back on track, because I knew that like all these people are here, and they are the ones using the product, and they are so positive. So yeah, very much founder-led sales. And I think if you focus on making your a few, customers or users really excited, delighted, and kind of successful using your product, it starts to kind of, have spill-off effects. They start to introduce you to other companies. All of these things kind of natural happen if you just focus initially on a core group. And that has been very much, our mantra at the start. And that paid off in that sense, because I think, also at the start, I would say that you will definitely experience a few that, can't deal with a buggy product and will be a little bit upset, but you will always find this core little group that is forgiving and super supportive. And we found that. And then through that, we kind of started to, be introduced to more and more companies, essentially. I should also say that yeah. No, I just want to say that recently, quite a few amazing customers have actually came through through your network as well, through the SaaStock founder membership as well. So that's definitely something to highlight as well. What communities are you part of? I think there's so much support and help, among founders to founders nowadays. And that has also been, something that truly has generated incredible effects for us.
Awesome. Good stuff. What are some of your key takeaways then from your experience to date, being the CEO and co-founder of Unlock? It's still early in the journey, but there's a lot of experience there. So what are some of the key takeaways that you could share?
Yeah, I think, again, what I just mentioned a little bit, it comes really back to this. I know it's, they always say it, and it's easy to somehow forget once you're in the journey because you have so many things to do. But it is this customer focus somehow, and never to forget that, and never to kind of, ensure that every day you somehow have some interactions with them, because they're the only ones that will help you build the right product. They're the ones that will take you through the hard moments of this journey. They will help you to fundraise. Ultimately, if the customers like you, the investors will also be excited about it. So really about that, and being a little bit picky as well in terms of, who those customers are, and ensuring if someone doesn't show enough interest or seems to be very harsh on you on where you are with the product, maybe it's better to wait a little bit and onboard them at the later stage as well, and not kind of risk that relationship too much in that sense. And secondly, I would say, from a more sort of personal perspective as well, going through this journey, again, about who you surround yourself with and kind of creating that support mechanism around yourself. So for me, I have, for instance, a group of founders that are both at the similar stage, so kind of at the seed level, but I also have a group of founders on, more the AB level already, and a little bit further, that I think are, the conversations I have with them are just brutally honest. It's like you can, you just share everything, all the struggles and everything that's going well and that not so well. And I think those moments or those conversations have really always been super, super fundamental to know how to navigate, through the ups and downs of such a journey that this is.
No, yeah, definitely. And on that, I mean, it's one of the reasons that we created the SaaStock founder membership. Right, we understand how difficult it is to build any business, but especially a SaaS business, and for people to go it alone makes it just so much more harder. So to surround yourself with a supportive group is extremely valuable. And again, that's what we're looking to build and are building with the SaaStock founder membership. So definitely that value of the support network. And we've seen, and you've probably seen that as well, that successful CEOs, they have a support network, right? And they've always kind of designed and optimized for that. So definitely something not to ignore if you can.
Exactly.
What about like from your
No, go ahead.
What about from your learning, learning from other people, like within your support group? But are there any particular books that business books that have kind of helped you to date? Is that something that's been important?
Yeah, I think actually before this journey started, I must say I somehow have had so much more time to read as well. So that's something I should get back to a little bit better on when it comes to maximizing my own time. But I did actually had this especially with the quick, Blinkist, for instance, I actually did a challenge with myself to read 100 of Blinkist in a month. So there's lots of small, tips and nuggets here and there. I think the most recent ones that has truly been impactful, especially once you're already a little bit into the journey, it is The Messy Middle by Scott Belsky. And I think it was recommended by another founder. And yeah, it really kind of shines a light exactly on those things that you're going through more kind of mentally of, the challenges of how to navigate, what to do when it comes to, the product, how can you set up processes and what you structure. So I think for me, that has become a little bit of like a helper recently, which has been a great one. I would definitely recommend that one.
Awesome. I could say I've had quite a few recommendations recently of books that I've never read. So that's another one. But I'll definitely look to.
Are you reading enough, or are you having time to read right now?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I am a big reader, but what I found, I used to read on my commute into London.
Exactly.
And so I'd be on the train for 3 hours a day, but three days a week.
Yeah.
So I'd have plenty of time to read on the train. But since the pandemic, initially the habit stopped. I found it very difficult because you're working obviously during the day, got kids before I start work and after I start work, and generally in the evening, I'm kind of too tired to read. It's very difficult. So I've tried, and I've also fallen out the habit a little bit, but I basically tried to get around this, to set my alarm at 5 a.m., to get up and basically do my exercise and reading before anybody wakes up, right? But just to find that time where nobody else is around to kind of get that in. And I was very good at it for maybe 6 months. And I just over the summer period, I kind of, when the alarm goes off, I'm hitting snooze, a little bit, it's getting darker. It's just a bit more of a challenge. So I feel a little bit bad that I'm not as good as I was around that. And I keep buying books and then they're just kind of sitting there and I have to read them. But as you can see, I've got a few there. I think I've read most of these. But there's probably a whole bunch that I bought that I haven't read. But hopefully I'm going to get back into it. I keep telling myself set that alarm at 5 and wake up and actually not hit snooze. So I think it's going to happen. But it's getting darker. It's getting darker, and winter.
But it's so cozy, to read books in the fall and winter with some nice little candles and all of that. So. I think in one way the fall is almost easier to make those books actually, ensure that you actually get somewhere with them.
Definitely, and I am getting back, but not to the way that I was, but getting back to some form of commuting. So we're now doing flexi work. We've got an office space in London. I'm going in maybe once, maybe twice a week, kind of if that. So then I do get again a little bit more time then to get some reading in, although I've been working sort of recently on the train, but I'll get back to it. Good stuff. Well, so Maria, what's next, and where can people find you online?
Yes, so right now we're super excited to be launching Unlock more publicly. We have been working a lot with customers and companies in a more kind of closed version, and trying to improve the product and adding more and more activities. I think there's around, more than 50 creators that we're collaborating that are having amazing different activities on the platform, and more than 300 different small conversation starters and sort of really purposeful and meaningful ways how you can interact with your team. And now we're excited to, open it up a little bit more and look forward to see how that goes and announcing sort of, all the stuff that we've been building for quite a few months. And when it comes to finding me, I think nowadays it's easy to find most people, right? So I'm on all the social platforms at Maria Wlosinka, or just email me directly at maria@joinunlock.com.
Awesome, great stuff, and we're looking forward to using it for upcoming SaaStock founder member events as well. So excited for that. But congrats on the journey so far. You're doing amazing, and thank you for sharing. A great story there with the listeners.
The internet broke.
There we go.
There we go. Exactly the moment we
Internet dropped right at the end. It's been one of those days. But we can cut back to that. We'll get back to the train of thought there. But so obviously, thank you for sharing. Such an amazing story. As I said, looking forward to using this for the SaaStock founder membership. Some excellent sort of insights into how to come from an idea through to creating a product and finding co-founders and getting investment. So it's just so many great insights kind of shared there today. So really appreciate that, and looking forward to see the journey and follow the journey as you scale Unlock. So thanks so much for sharing with the SaaStock community.
Is it a cat in your background?
Oh, that's my dog, Becky.
It's a dog. No.
She's joined in at the end.
Oh, that was so sweet. Yeah. There is something moving around in your background. That's Betty. She sits with me. She's the podcast mascot. But occasionally she'll see another dog out the window and just go absolute batshit, and which will kind of ruin. We can obviously edit her out, but she's here. She's been listening, and she's inspired as well. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for giving me this opportunity to join you here on the SaaS Revolution show. Yeah, really appreciate it, and can't wait for all the exciting other things that we will do together as well.